Hey guys, we were on the Blue Collar Feature podcast with Justin Startari. Is that how you say your name?
Yeah, people mess it up all the time, but that's how it goes. I'm sure you got it right.
Wheat. I always worry about that. Um, anyways, Justin, we kind of did this we're talking before we started recording. We
Yeah.
were kind of on the fly here last minute. I appreciate that. So let's just get right into it though. What do you do?
All right, I'm an electrician out of the Pittsburgh area. My main things I like to think about are fitness, because when you're in the trades, a lot of people just think overthink it, and there's a lot of problems with the guy's health these days, and it's just
Yeah.
not a good thing I see.
Yeah. What got you started being an electrician? How long you been doing that for?
Well, when I was in high school, we had the opportunity to go to a tech program, skip half the day, and I decided to go through. An electrician just looked most interesting to me. We had pretty much every trade you could think of, but just going through the program they gave us, it was the most interesting to me. So,
So I heard about another person doing that in
yeah.
Boston.
Mhm.
Is that a common thing over there?
Well, in Pennsylvania, it's pretty common because that's one of the bigger jobs around here. It's blue collar stuff, but
Oh,
it's been going downhill a little bit. They've been trying to make computers more of the mainstream thing.
yeah,
The school I went to kind of kicked that program out recently, and it's unfortunate.
yeah. Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, I had another person on my podcast, one of the first people actually.
Yeah.
His name's Pat, and he went through a similar thing and
Mhm.
more or less graduated high school, um, already starting as an electrician. I don't remember what level he was, but he had gone through a significant part of the trade
Mhm.
program and was certified already or something, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, we had the opportunity to get certified. You had to take a test, but it wasn't really like you're a journeyman. You're
Yeah.
just like a certified apprentice, I guess you could say. When I went 2 years, and then for some reason they canceled the electrical program because I believe the teacher got sick or something. But I never got any certification out of it. But it did give me an opportunity to try the carpentry program, which gave me more versatility in what I know.
Yeah. Interesting. So, I mean, that's something that I feel like we should be pushing across the board,
Yes.
having trade schools like that. And especially if you can get, I mean, even one leg up into whatever, becoming an apprentice, certified apprentice, or maybe
Yeah.
even halfway to being a journeyman or something. If you can
Mhm.
accomplish that in high school, that gives you such a advantage over other people that don't.
Yeah, I know a lot of the guys that I work with, they're apprentices, and they're just totally confused on where to go. They're like, I don't know if I should get certified. I don't know if I should do this or that. I'm like, listen, you are where you are now. You don't need to be certified in Pennsylvania at least to do the electrical work. Uh, but there's so much confusion around it because there's not a lot of information out there. There just seem to be blocking it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what a lot of this podcast, what I try to do is kind of bring information to people about I mean, how to go about it because a lot of people are just confused about how it works. And then a lot of people that translates to them thinking that these jobs aren't worth doing. That you can't make good money, you can't have a good life, because it's uneducated, dirty work or whatever.
Yeah. Well, you only make of it what you can make of it, right? I mean,
Right.
if you like to get dirty, you definitely can, but you don't have to be in the mud all day. It depends on what you find interesting.
Yep. Yeah, that's true. So you said you're a journeyman right now then, huh?
I have the role of a journeyman. I haven't taken my test, but I run jobs, I run guys, you know, pretty much the same responsibilities.
Yeah.
I've been to get my test, but it's a
Well,
process.
so if it's not really required in Pennsylvania, then what is the benefit of doing that?
Well, to like you get to pull permits and everything in the city, like I'm employed. I don't own my own business, so I can just do the work. I don't need the certification, but you can make, a good amount of money just working under somebody and having the same responsibilities. If you're not, a lot of people just aren't book smart, but they can work with their hands for sure. And that's the guys we actually need on the site.
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. That's interesting. Yeah, I've always been interested in electrical work. I mean, I was going to school to be an electrical engineer, which a little bit different. And I had
Mhm.
always thought like, oh, maybe I could go be an electrician, just, switch it up if I ever decided to, but
Mm.
didn't ever end up doing that. Just stuck with concrete because I feel like you really can make good money
Yeah.
doing whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest problem is people are afraid to try it. It's like there's how many trades out there? You have to like one of them, and you don't have to go into debt. Like I said, you don't need to go to school. My trade school was free through the school. I mean, you can't always get that, but I got guys in the same position as me. They just showed up and learned every day and wanted to work hard, so they made it far enough.
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, that's interesting. So you've come across some of the same issues as I have with
Yeah.
um, people not being very healthy, right? Like
Oh,
that's a common theme across blue collar
yeah.
people is living off gas station food, being overweight.
Yeah.
Um, how long have you been interested in health and fitness and been following that lifestyle?
Well, when I was in high school, like a lot of the blue collar guys, I did football, I played sports. I was just so into it. I was like, I was so dedicated to it. And eventually one day I got hurt and it just like I tore my knee out. I wasn't able to do anything for years. I was through physical therapy over and over again. And I was like, "Ah, this is horrible because you don't realize what you have until it's gone. So when you're laying there in physical therapy, you're just thinking about all the things you could have done differently. And so I ended up going to college for physical therapy because I was like, oh, maybe I want to help people who got hurt. And then I was like, I don't want to be hurt because every time I would go back to the gym, I couldn't get back into it. But just because like there's also a mental side when you get hurt that's more difficult to come back from than the physical side. It's like I was through depression for years and years and years, ended up being an alcoholic, eating the gas station foods because I couldn't get any real jobs. I was just more into doing a trade job since I was younger. So I ended up seeing the guys I was working around. They're all out of shape, they're unhealthy, and I was like, there's something wrong with this. So I ended up trying to work out myself over and over. Like I said, it didn't work just because of the mental side of my injury. I took a break from it. I was just working in a kitchen for a long time. And I was like, this can't be the rest of my life. I'm not interested in it. And I ended up having to fix an oven at work. And that got me back into the trades. And then I was just astounded, like full time being in the trades, how out of shape everybody was. Even though they're running around miles and miles a day. I'm like, there's no way you're out of shape like this because of your job. So it has to be something else. Then I started experimenting with dieting, and that was the biggest thing for me was how your diet is.
Yep. Well, that's a huge part about it. A lot of guys, I mean, like you said, we're active, um, and it's not the job
Yeah,
that's getting you out of shape. A lot of people, but it's not the job that's going to get you in shape either. A lot of
yeah,
people don't really understand how big of a role your diet and lifestyle has. If you're not getting enough sleep and you're eating like garbage, you're pretty much going to feel like crap, and
yeah.
your body's going to um, become not as I don't know, not as useful as it once was. I mean, you're going to have injuries, you're going to have um, extra weight packing on. I mean, it's like all across the board.
I mean, the problem is you don't really notice a difference if you're slowly gaining weight or you're slowly adding more and more alcohol or more and more junk food. If you just say you go a week without eating anything bad, you're gonna feel worse probably for the first couple of days, but then you're gonna start noticing it. And if you can keep that going for a couple of weeks, you're gonna be like, oh my God, it was the food. I was just lying to myself.
Yeah. Yeah. And then that diet and lifestyle is what
Mhm.
leads to people's bodies breaking down the
Yeah.
road
Hmm.
and then turning around and blaming it on the job as
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, I got injured or
Hmm.
my body's broken down because of my job, as opposed to I ate like shit for
Yeah.
10, 15, 20 years, didn't get enough sleep, drank way too much alcohol, like whatever it is. And that compounds over time to where your body is just garbage at that point.
Yeah. I mean, I've been on both sides of it. Like I said, I was in the best shape of my life, the worst shape of my life for years, and then I got back into great shape, and it's just night and day difference. just from simple things you can change. I mean, I'm not saying you can't eat the gas station burritos. Sometimes, you're in a pinch, but 80, 90% of the time you should be at least making some kind of effort to be eating something good.
Yeah. I mean, at least prepping your own food and
Yeah.
sometimes and keeping track of what you eat. Because
Yeah.
one thing, like I started paying attention to how much sugar is in everything, not even
Yeah.
because I keep track of what I eat so much as my wife
Hmm.
started when she got pregnant, started looking at how much sugar was in everything. Because when you're pregnant, you're not supposed to have more than 30 grams of sugar a day because it goes straight to the baby, right?
Huh.
And there's 30 grams of sugar in like everything out there.
Yeah.
Every single snack, sugary drink, like whatever it is, there's 30 grams of sugar in it. And I started paying attention to how much sugar I was taking in through Gatorades, random energy drinks. I mean, all that. And I was like, holy crap, that is a lot of sugar. And a lot of these guys are having 3 times that much and
Hmm.
and eating the gas station food
Yeah.
exclusively and sitting on the couch at home and drinking the alcohol. And I'm like, no wonder you feel like crap all the time.
Yeah, you don't notice it when you do it every day, and but like recently what I've been doing, I'm like, okay, this is what I used to eat. So I'd go, it'd be something from the gas station. I'd be like, I'd eat two of these and then I'd have, two Mountain Dews with it. I'm like, dude, that's my daily calories for like a snack on the way to work. And guys just don't realize it because they don't really pay attention to it.
Yeah.
Everyone around you in the construction site's pretty much the same for the most part. And it's just like the norm to eat
Yeah.
like shit.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the diet is that most important piece. And I push working out a lot
Yeah.
because when I started working out, I don't
Mm.
know, 6 or 7 years ago,
Yeah.
it completely changed the way I felt. And
Yes.
I think it's a mainly because all of that junk food started
Mhm.
to just make me feel like crap,
Yeah.
like even more so than it already did. Like I started to notice the effects of the gas station food, the fast food, and the
Mhm.
smell of it started to just
Yeah,
make my stomach churn. And
definitely.
I attribute that mainly to working out.
So yeah, same. I've noticed the same type of thing. Like you're just doing the same thing over and over every day. Nothing, every once in a while you have a really hard day, but if you really want to make yourself feel good, eat the same thing and you go to the gym, you're horrible. But if you just eat good, you feel amazing. You can't overdo your body and not feel it right. It's just not
Yeah.
never gonna happen.
Yeah, and when you start working out, your body's going to want that actual fuel because
Yeah.
you're breaking your muscles down and they're needing to repair. You can't repair off of freaking gas station rollers and Mountain Dew. And that's just what a lot of guys are like stuck into this mindset
Yeah.
that they're just fine and they can live off of that stuff. But at the same time, then blaming the blue collar job as why they're in the shape they're in.
Well, if the job was that hard, you'd be in shape, wouldn't you be? And,
That,
it's 100% your diet. I can tell you, like, even before I didn't even start working out, I started eating healthy and losing weight before I started full-time working out again.
yeah,
'Cause I had such a hard time even doing workouts because my leg, it's had problems for years. It still has problems, but the diet even helps pain. If you eat the right things, you're not gonna have as much joint pain, and it's gonna help you even if you don't work out.
yeah. I mean, a lot of garbage, the garbage food we eat just causes a lot of inflammation, and it
Yeah.
makes it worse than it
Hmm.
actually is.
Yeah.
And I think I still drink energy drinks and stuff,
Yeah.
and I'm just waiting for the day for people to call me out on it because
Yeah.
it's kind of funny because I still like them, but the
Yeah.
whole point of it is to not let it get out of control to where
That
that's like all you're doing is eating
that's
junk
my
food,
problem.
energy drinks, and all that stuff.
I like my energy drinks just like every other guy in construction. I recently made it a goal to stop drinking them because you drink them for energy, but there's a point where you're drinking them just because they taste so good, and you're like, this isn't even helping me. I'm just sitting here drinking
Right.
it. Ugh.
Right. I don't even remember the last time I had one for energy. I just like the way they
Yeah.
taste.
You go grab when you're like, this tastes good. Then you end up having two or three, and then you feel, like shit because you had all that caffeine, you didn't really
Yeah.
need it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. It's all these subtle changes
Yeah,
and things that we do,
yeah,
like you say, they just compound over time, and it's hard to see what you're going to look like 10 years down the road when
yeah.
week to week nothing really changes.
Yeah, people always want to see like an instant gratification. It's hard to envision the big picture.
Yeah.
You
Well,
work,
and
nothing
the,
happens, but work out 100 times, you're gonna notice it.
yeah. Well, and that goes, across the board. It goes for people wanting to make a bunch of money right out of high school
Yep.
when they have no skills. It goes for working out, goes
Mhm.
for going on a diet, like
Yep.
whatever change you want to see, you need to be acting um, in such a way that you're trying to be who you want to be in, 10 years down the road. Like
Yeah.
what you're doing now is affecting you 10 years down the road, not today and tomorrow.
I mean, I
So
blame it a lot on social media because what you see on there, people are already in shape. Like, this is what I do. So you expect next week you're gonna, look like top bodybuilder in the world, but you're just starting out and they've been doing it their entire life.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, if I'm looking at myself month to month or even year to year, a lot of times I don't even see a difference. And sometimes I feel like I'm going backwards in my physical fitness. But then I'll have people, you know, talk to me as though I'm in some upper echelon of fitness, and to me that doesn't even compute because I'm like, man, I don't feel like I'm getting anywhere.
I mean, after a certain point, it's like you slow down on how much progress you make because everyone's body's different. You're not everybody's, a hyper athlete. So once you get to a certain point, it's like the same thing's just gonna be a little small change every day.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So, what is your goals with your social media right now? You started doing a lot of social media
Yeah.
in relation to health and fitness.
So originally, I started my social media just geared towards the fitness because I've seen all these guys out of shape, and I'm like, nobody really knows how to start. And what's happening is it's not getting a lot of reach to the right people. So I ended up changing it up a little bit to performing in general, like show up on time, listen, pay attention, learn new skills, do stuff outside of work to show up better at work. And then you kind of feed it in there a little bit so people understand that that's one of the more important things is, some guys, they'll go to work one day, they'll work really hard and they call off the next day because they're just so beat. If you take care of your body, you're going to be able to go day after day after day doing hard things and you're going to just stay on top of the other guys when eventually you're going to make more money like that because, you're more reliable. You get more done.
Yeah. Yeah, well, there's a lot of people that think that just showing up to work is enough or just
Yeah.
putting in that effort at work is enough, but it's about what you're doing outside of work. It's about
Yep.
how you show up to work, whether
Mhm.
you're early or late. I mean, there's so many things that go into your overall success in
Yeah.
whatever you do. Um, and it definitely doesn't include showing up to work late and then going home and drinking a 12 pack on the couch.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just tired of people like showing up late and then being, oh, it's only a few minutes. Well, it's only a few minutes for you, but when I have five guys here and you're part of the, program here, you're slowing everybody down and that accumulates over an hour. Boss finds the weak link, you're gone. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like you got to be able to be productive all the time.
Yep. And that's a hard thing to get into, um, especially when you have so much brain fog
Yeah.
from feeling like crap. Because when you're not in shape, you're eating all that garbage, it's really, really hard to get your mind like to focus in on anything, let alone, being on top of your job, being on work on time, like waking
Yeah.
up on time, not hitting snooze, 20 times and sleeping in, like going to bed when you're supposed to go to bed.
It just
Um,
compounds over time, everything.
oh, everything does. And if people could just get their life outside of work in order,
Mhm.
everything at work follows suit. And really that's how it is, across the board.
Yeah,
Get your health and fitness in order, your relationships get better. Your production at work gets better. If you work on your relationship with your spouse, your girlfriend, your
yeah,
kids, siblings, whatever, your relationships at work get better. I mean, it's everything affects each other, and I see a lot of people that they're just so distracted by all these problems that are going on outside of work that they can't focus on their job at work.
yeah. Yeah, I know. Like being in the trades, it's more than just being in the trades. It's like a kind of a lifestyle. So it's like you need to be the better man in every situation. So that's why I'm saying like getting in shape is part of being a man. Taking care of your family is part of being a man. That's the kind of guys we need in the trades. I'm tired of seeing these like soft guys who, cheat on their girl and they go out every night and then they show up useless.
Yeah.
It's just so many things I'm tired of seeing these days with these young guys, but nobody's really teaching them what they got to do. So they just show up all lost and they think that's how it is.
Yeah, and then it doesn't help when the culture isn't supportive. There's
Yeah.
culture at work isn't supportive of them and trying to teach them
Mhm.
right from wrong. Instead, just get their ass chewed, and then it just makes them more upset.
Yeah, they just feel like they're a loser no matter what they do. They don't know where to go because no
Yep.
one's showing them.
No one's supportive. That's
Yeah,
that's why
yeah,
social media is so important. Sharing this information on there and what works for you and what you do to be successful, because people will see that and they will something something you say will light a spark in someone else and get them to make a change.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've had a few people reach out. I mean, most of the guys that reach out to me, they're not interested in like being a bodybuilder. They want to feel good. They want to look all right. They don't want to be like super jacked or anything. So it's really not that much work just to be basically like minimally healthy.
Yeah, I mean, and then I get people talking to me, and I'll tell them I only work out 2 or 3 times a week, and I've
Yeah,
only done 2 or 3 times a week the whole time I've been working out,
yeah,
and nobody believes me on that because there's such um, a disconnect in what
yeah,
it takes to attain a certain body type
yeah,
or a certain level of fitness. They think that you need to be in the gym, you know,
mhm,
2 hours a day every single day just to
yeah.
get in decent shape.
Yeah. No, definitely not. I mean, my workout, I try and keep my workouts like 45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah.
Sometimes I go over, but I really like being in the gym. That's me personally. It's something that keeps me going back. I enjoy how I feel in there. But a lot of people, they have kids, they have a lot of responsibilities, not a lot of time. So you could get away with a 30-minute workout, two, three, four, maybe four times a week, and that's enough.
Yeah, that's one of my biggest pushes for people is to show them they can do these workouts and be quick and effective. Because I'm the
Yeah.
same way. I try to keep them to 45 minutes, and when I was going to a gym, I
Yes.
would be in there longer as
Mhm.
well because I like being there. It's a little bit different at home because since I've got a home gym, it kind of
Yes.
it's honestly a little bit harder to work out at
Oh, yeah.
home.
No motivation
But
by yourself. Yeah.
yeah, and it's way easier to just walk back inside and be done.
Yeah.
Um, but that's the thing is you can take it and you can make it 30, 45 minutes a few times a week. And then that's perfect. That's all you need.
Yeah, like I was saying, there's not a lot of information out there, and you see people watching the videos. I work out 3, 4 hours a day. Well, you're on steroids, and that's your job is to work out. Your job is not to work out. It's just to be healthy.
Yeah. And I think there's definitely a lack for people in the space of blue collar fitness influencers, we'll say,
Yeah.
because there's so many fitness influencers
Mhm.
that lead people astray. But
Yeah.
exactly what you say, they're in the gym constantly. They've got these super extensive workout programs, and you'll get guys that will start one
Yeah.
and they'll do it for a couple weeks and just get absolutely freaking burnt out because they're
Yeah.
in the gym constantly. They don't have time. And then
Mhm.
all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, I can't get in shape. I don't have
Yeah.
time.
It's
Because like they see that and they're like, well, that's what's needed to
yeah.
get to that shape. I can't do it, so I might as well not work out at all.
Well, to be fair, when you work in the trades, you kind of do get a free workout. It's not all you should do, but
Yeah.
not a lot of people can even get their steps in, and you're getting them in by, noon.
Yeah.
And then that's one of the main reasons I did start my page because I tried doing like some of those mainstream programs when I first got into the trades, and I was like, this is just way too much. Guys are just going to try this and be screwed.
Yeah.
So I tried to develop a way to work out and not be dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And you know,
football,
I tell people a lot that um the first year or two that you're working in a manual labor job, especially if you haven't done it before, you actually get a lot of gains and benefits from the job.
yeah,
But after a certain amount of time, you get used to it and then you don't get any more. And there's no way to make the job progressively harder, right? So it's the people that say that their job is a workout. I'm like, sometimes
yeah.
it maybe be, but it's not enough. It's not enough to keep you constantly um, growing and your body adapting to, getting stronger.
That's
Uh,
exactly where I think the problems occur because
yeah,
people get in, they may lose weight that they've had, or they may get stronger, and then they think what they're doing right now is okay, but their body adjusts, and then it just goes downhill from there.
yeah. Well, you get used to it, so you do lose weight, and then a lot of times because it was hard at first and you did see gains at first,
Mhm.
then you think it's enough, and then you just go back to it the way you were before because your body is like, okay, yeah, I get it. I get the hang of it now, and start packing on the weight again, especially compounding the lifestyle in with it that a lot of these people live by.
Yeah, I mean, even if you don't think of it like just in your job, just think of it how you look to everybody you know. It's like you get home and you tell your wife how hard you work all day, and you're wondering why she's not very physically interested in you.
Yeah,
When you get home, all she sees is you drinking the beers and eating the
yeah,
frozen pizza. She doesn't see you, even though you may work hard all day. She does not see that, and then you just don't look like the man you say you are in front of her.
yeah. And one thing I did recently is I quit thinking that my job was so hard,
Uh,
because there was times where I would get home and I'd be tired and I would just complain in my own head about how hard of a day it was, and oh man, such a long day. I'm so tired. I quit doing that, and it almost immediately changed my energy levels outside of work.
yeah.
So I think a lot of people get caught up into that. My
Mhm.
job's so hard, I work so hard on blue collar that they make it harder on themselves
Yeah.
just by what's in their head.
That is the biggest excuse, and it's the biggest pushback I have. Like, I'm an electrician, and people
Yeah,
always say, like, in my comment, how soft it is.
yeah,
It's not the hardest trade, but it's definitely has its hard days. And then they'll say, "Oh, try, hanging drywall." I have hung drywall. I did carpentry for years. I did concrete. I did roofing. I did all these things. So I do know how you feel after a hard day of hanging rock or putting flooring down. It is
yeah.
a lot more hard, I'd say, than my job physically, but I still made
It's
it.
yeah, it's funny because I see that pushback across the board. Like even me doing concrete, people will be like, "Oh, concrete isn't hard at all. Go try,
Yeah.
iron work," or like
Mhm.
they'll always point to something else. But then concrete is one of the most common things that people are like,
Yeah.
"Oh, that's not hard. Try concrete." So it's funny because everybody wants to say something else is harder,
Yeah.
even if it's not their job. But most
Yeah.
of the time, like I know you posted the other day about like a post, the argument about which trade is the hardest. And I
Yeah.
think that's such a funny argument because everybody thinks what they do is the hardest. And I'm like, imagine if instead of thinking your job was the hardest, you
Yeah.
just in your mind thought it was easy.
Mhm.
When I started doing that, it was like, oh yeah, this is nothing. And then you get done at the end of the day, it's like, Yeah, it wasn't actually that bad at all.
I never really thought of it that way. I've always just thought of it. It's like this trade, their legs might be fried every day. This
Yeah.
trade, their shoulder, like, if you're doing concrete, I know your shoulders get pretty burnt, your knees are tired, but
Yeah.
my back gets really sore from pulling wire. It's just a different type of work for everybody. It's something
Yeah,
different.
but that's the thing is your body does get used to it after a certain point in time. And
Yeah.
if you are working out and you're strengthening those areas of your body that don't get worked, or
Yeah.
maybe the like, if you're working out your shoulders to support the
Yes.
repetitive movement that you do finishing concrete, let's say,
Yeah.
it's going to take less of a toll. And then not only that, it's your mindset on the way that your job is. Because a lot of people are just miserable wretches and they just want to be like, oh, my job's so hard, woe is me, blah blah blah. That doesn't help you get anywhere. And all that does is manifest
Yeah.
the what's in your mind onto
Yeah.
your body and out into your reality. And then you start thinking that you have it really hard. And why would you want to think that your life is miserable?
People want to make excuses to get out of hard work, but in reality, the hard work's what's going to make it easier in the long run.
Yeah.
Example, I went to work the other day. We had to carry these meters up 7 flights of stairs. They're pretty heavy, and I got great hardworking guys on my team. And next day, they were complaining about how sore they were. I wasn't sore at all, but we all did the same amount of work.
Yeah.
It's like you just got to think of it in the long run.
Yeah. Think of it in the long run and think about how those thoughts are serving you. Because that's a lot of what I goes through my head is
Yeah,
like the what you think and really believe in your mind is what you're going to see,
yeah,
and it's also what you're going to feel because your mind body connection is a very real and powerful thing. And if you think you're tired, you will be tired. If you think
yeah,
you're super super sore, you will be super super sore, even if you're not. Your body's going to feel that way, and it's almost like you're making it up.
yeah.
And people just want to perpetuate that
Mhm.
belief system, that those thoughts, and then it's a vicious cycle and it just gets worse and worse, and then they become grumpy unreal bastards that just complain about everything.
Yeah, there is a lot of complaints and there's a lot of excuses. Um, it's just something that I've noticed is people make excuses to get out of things, but they'd just be better off if they stopped making excuses and just took action, no matter what it is.
Yeah.
Whether they want to be better at their job or if they just want to work out, they want to find a better relationship. You just got to take action in life.
Yeah.
Better
why
off.
so why is it, do you think, that people make those excuses? Because I've got some thoughts of my own, but I'm curious to hear um what you think.
Well, depending on people don't. First of all, people don't like change. They like to feel
Yeah.
comfortable, like right in the middle. It's your brain's hardwired to take the easiest way out too. So you kind of
Yeah.
gotta go the hard direction to get the benefits.
Mhm.
In pain comes reward. It's just how it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of people like to make excuses to because your body wants to be in an equilibrium
Yeah,
and expend the least amount of energy. It's the same reason why we store fat in our bodies. Any extra energy you have is
yeah,
conserved for a time that you might need it. I think our minds work a lot the same. So we don't like our mind is wanting to keep us in this state of expending no energy
yeah.
just in case the moment comes when we don't have food, we don't have access to food, whatever, our survival mode kicks in, and then we can start burning the fat that we have.
Mhm.
So it's a thing that it gets us like everywhere in our life. Like it's a very primal instinct
Yeah,
to eat as much as you can so
yeah.
that just in case later when you don't have food, you'll still survive. Right. And so our minds are wired that way to prevent us from doing stuff. Because
Yeah.
what happens if I don't have enough energy later down the road? Right.
Mm.
And yeah, like our minds just want to stay in that state, and people want to de devoid themselves of all responsibility. So they make those excuses to justify why they shouldn't do this and they shouldn't do that. They shouldn't work out, whatever.
Mm. Well, discipline's the biggest thing you got to think about because, you know, if you're around people that are not very disciplined, you're going to be the same way. But if you find people to be around that, you know, they go through the extra hardship, you're going to end up picking up a lot of their traits. You know, these days it's, you know, you don't have to do those primal instincts because there is food. We're not starving to death. You got to kind of just use your mind and be like, I got to stop eating now, even though it tastes so good.
Right? Um, a lot of things I think about is how available was food um, first thing in the morning before fridges were around,
Yeah.
right? How available was it? How much food could you possibly eat? You definitely weren't, drinking milk and eating a bowl of cereal every single morning, like
Oh,
immediately when you wake up.
yeah.
That's what a lot of people do, and it sets your day off wrong, and they're going with this instinct in their body to eat whenever they can,
Yeah.
because that's how we're wired, just to
Mhm.
um, to conserve energy and as that survival instinct. But so food is so readily available, and our
Yeah.
lives are really pretty easy. Like, we complain about work being hard when in reality it's pretty easy. It's predictable, and you have unlimited access to energy, food. It's really pretty easy. We don't have to worry about a whole lot. So in our minds, we're like trying to make up these problems to justify these instincts that are pushing us one way or another.
Mhm. Yeah, so that's one of the big issues these days as well as most food is addicting, like we talked about it earlier with the energy drinks. You
Yeah,
eat it, you think you're hungry, but in reality you're not hungry. So what I like to try and do is just stick to whole foods. And if that doesn't sound appetizing to you, you're really just not hungry. You're just trying to eat.
yeah,
You know, I could you know, eat a whole box of cookies and still be hungry, but I just want to keep eating them because you're addicted to the dopamine you get from the food.
yeah. And I mean, it used to be so hard to have that dopamine um,
Hmm.
in your life, and now it's like everywhere you turn. I mean, the social media, the food, it's all comforting to our
Yeah.
psychology. But it's the same thing with working out, because a lot of people fall into this trap of working out where they're doing it constantly and they're straight up addicted
Mm.
to being in the gym. And
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
it it's crazy how much is working against us, I think, um, in life. And it's I think if I had to sum a lot of it up, it'd be try to not let everything get out of control.
Yeah, there is definitely an overload of, you know, things in life that are giving you dopamine. Like you said, food, social media, everywhere you look, it's like an addictive thing. So you kind of got to pick and choose what you're consuming, whether it be on social media or whether it be food, drinks. You got to kind of just think of it as like, do I really need this or do I just want it and then I'm going to regret it later?
Yeah. Which is a why I push people to do the things they don't want to do,
Yeah,
because it's for them. Maybe for some people, going to the gym is like their addiction,
yeah,
and they're super addicted to it, and that's all that will satisfy them. But for some people, it's what they absolutely dread, and they
yeah,
don't want to do it. But it's going to help them in the long run to force themselves to do that, to build up that discipline, so that when the hard conversation comes up at work, when they need to um, go over a hard topic, or with their family or whatever, they're not going to sit there and push it off and push it off and push it off, because, oh, you know what, I just need to do this. I need to get it done and get it out of the way.
yeah. It sets the pace for everything else. I mean, it just if you do something you don't like over and over again, then it just opens your mind. I mean, that wasn't that hard. Maybe I can surprise myself and do that. And then eventually, the things you hated the most are the things you love the most, and they benefit you.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely a lot to think about. Uh, and I think all of this can get super repetitive. And I know a lot of times I get sick of talking about the same thing over and over again, but at the same time, we all need to hear it like
Yeah.
over and over again. Otherwise, we start to forget, why it is we're doing what we're doing. And our minds start to talk us out of doing this
Yeah.
to conserve energy. We start talking ourselves out of going to the gym because, oh man, I'm tired today. I'll go tomorrow. I'll do that tomorrow. Start pushing it off. It's like it's human nature to just push it off till to a later date.
Yeah, I mean, it takes a couple weeks at least to create a new habit, but it only takes a few days to get rid of it. So you really got to condition your mind to just do it. And eventually it's just second nature.
Yeah. That's been, I think, my big success with working out, and maybe my only success, I don't know, is I haven't missed more than a week
Yeah.
of workouts because I know that if I miss more than a week, I'm
Yeah.
probably not going to keep working out.
Yeah.
And I enjoy it, but I see people all the time that they'll work out, they'll get super into it, they'll go every single day,
Yeah.
and they'll do that for 2 or 3 months, and then they'll miss a week, and then it turns into 2 weeks and 3 weeks, and they start gaining weight again, and then they don't go again for another 6 months.
That's just another thing, having the right people around you. I tell my wife all the time, I'm like, I was in the worst mental state of my life being out of shape like that. I'm like, please don't let me, miss too many days. 'Cause I know how it is. You get tired, but I'm like, I gotta go. And, she's been a huge supporter of the entire thing because I've been with her in shape and I've been with her when I was, almost 200 pounds, and she loved me either way. But, I still tell her, I'm like, don't let me do that again. It was horrible.
Almost 200 pounds. How tall are you?
5'6".
Really?
In high school, I was like 140.
Yeah.
By the time I was biggest, I was like mid 190s, and now I'm
Jeez.
about 150.
Yeah.
And you know, alcohol could be to blame because when you drink a lot, you want to eat a lot. And
Yeah.
I fell into that kind of alcoholism with my injury and everything, and it was
Yeah.
really hard to get out of. But once you start making the small changes, and a lot of the bad habits just start to disappear because they become less important.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that alcohol is a big one. I know a lot of people that if they would just cut out the alcohol, it would
Yeah,
make them lose all the weight they have because beer itself has a lot of calories,
yeah,
and when you drink a lot, you want to eat a lot. So it's like it's a compounding effect of all of a sudden now you've got an extra 20 pounds on you from what you did before, and it's largely due to the alcohol. Plus, it's super inflammatory and it
yeah.
messes up your gut and all sorts of stuff.
I can't even tell you the things that went away. You don't have to quit drinking, but I'm just telling you, when I stopped drinking, I just noticed things. I was like, oh my God, I feel so much better. My leg doesn't hurt as bad.
Yeah.
My head, I don't get headaches. I'm never hungover. But it's just, I just think about myself back then. I'm just disgusted at, you know, looking at myself. I'm like, man,
You know, that's good though because it allows you an angle to connect with people that are in the same position because at the end of the day you're going to connect with people in that position more than I will because I have never drank and I because I've seen from people like you who've right stopped and recovered and been like that's terrible, I don't want to do that, and I'm like yeah, I don't think I want to ever start that, but a lot of people get pressured into it
mhm.
and then all of a sudden it's out of control.
Yeah, it started drinking started as a coping mechanism, and it just spirals out of control. When you feel good on it, you just don't want to stop, and it's extremely hard to get out of once you're so deep. And not a lot of people who drink a lot end up quitting. They just keep drinking their whole life, and that's how it is. But not everybody wants to do that forever.
No, no, I know enough people that after their whole life of drinking, they're getting to a point they're like, man, this isn't even worth it. And to me, it just doesn't seem like something that's good
Yeah.
to do. if makes you feel like crap, um,
Hmm.
gets out of control that easy, and if at some point you look back and you're like, what a freaking waste. What an
Yeah.
absolute waste.
Expensive, it's bad for you. And towards the end of it, it didn't even give me any good feeling. Like I just get sick after even taking a sip of it. And I was like, that's it. I just one day I'm just like, it's gone. Never touched it again. I'm
Yeah.
glad I did that because my life was pretty bad at that point in time.
Yeah. So do you right now with your following offer programs and stuff like that, coaching?
Well, right now I do offer that at this point in my page. It is free if anyone wants to just come and get some advice because not a lot of people have a ton of money, and I'm just here to help them right now. Eventually, if there's too many people and I can't keep up with it, then I'll start charging. But for now, you can just send me a DM and I'll help you. Get out of your situation for free.
Yeah, that's a very um helpful thing to do, like you said,
Yeah,
because a lot of people start sharing all of that and then they go straight to charging for it, which
yeah,
it depends on what you want, but I think offering free in as much free information as possible until you've really helped a lot of people um, is good for everybody.
yeah, yeah. I see it as a big enough problem where I don't need to be profiting right off the bat. If I can keep up with it, there's a few guys, that's fine. I'll help you and maybe you guys can help your friends and just compounds.
Yeah, yeah, that's how we need to be doing this with social media is just sharing information and hope, even if you help one person, that one person can turn around and help, another one person. And for too long, there will be enough people for everybody to start to notice that it just isn't quite right. The lifestyle and the diet that they're um, doing just isn't working for them, and there is a way around it. Because I think that's the biggest thing is a lot of people don't see, and they can't see because they got this
Tunnel
tunnel
vision.
vision. Yep.
Yeah, it is difficult for these guys, but like I said, shoot me a DM. I'll get you on your way. I'm really, it's kind of upsetting seeing how bad people are in their health and they don't know where to go. That's the biggest struggle I think there is a lot of guys are just like, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. I'm like, well, right here.
Yeah. So is that your goal at some point is to coach, or are you going to keep going down the electrician route? What's your thoughts there?
Well, I'm pretty sure I'll always be an electrician because I really do love my job, and
Yeah,
that's kind of just going to be something I do on the side is providing information and helping as many people as I can.
yeah,
Because I've always noticed that there was just a gap that of information people need to know,
yeah,
and a lot of people want to get into the trades these days, but they're afraid because of all the horror stories that people have on their health, and we can't have that. We got to have guys coming in since we have such a lapse in knowledge coming up here soon. All the old guys retiring.
yeah,
Got to get young guys in there who are ready to go and they're interested in it.
yeah, yeah. And having people kind of around our age that are pushing this idea that you can be successful in the trades and how important it is to get into them right now is going to help. Because there's a huge opportunity coming up for anybody in any trade because there's so many older
Yeah,
people that are going to be retiring at some point soon.
yeah. Guys need to if they want to join, you got to join like soon because if you wait a little bit, there's not going to be very many talented guys out there that can show you how things are done, and quality is going to just drop, almost overnight, in my opinion.
Yeah, and the demand is still there. I mean, if you're working in residential construction, there's such a shortage of homes everywhere that
Yeah,
it just is it's never going to go away. And even if new homes quit being done, you have opportunities anywhere in any trade.
Yeah.
What pushbacks have you gotten from being a younger person sharing information? Because it's funny, I got a lot of people in my
Yeah.
um, comments being like, "Man, get back to me when you're 30," and all
Yeah.
this freaking
Definitely
nonsense.
big thing. It's like, oh, see how you feel when you're my age. I'm like, what did you do when you were my age? Because I can guarantee you it wasn't this if you're still not doing it. You know. And then I have guys who are older who are being like, oh, I started working out recently and it's changed my life.
Yeah,
People are just like, they're afraid to admit that it's good for them.
yeah. They
They
want
push.
to they want to make those excuses to get rid of any responsibility they might have in their own life because it's hard to look at what you've done and think that it might be your fault and something that you did or didn't do.
Yeah, the biggest pushback, it's definitely just an age thing or it's the career thing. My job's harder or I'm older. Just quit making an excuse for it. Just
Oh,
do the work.
there's excuses for sure. I mean, I got one the other day that was like, what do you say? He said like, chill, bro, you're only 16 years old or something like that. And I was like, oh shit, really? Just because I look young? I mean, that's honestly more of a compliment to me than not, because it just
Yeah.
shows that it's actually been working because I'm
Mhm.
closer to 30 than I am to 20 at this
Yeah.
point. And if I still look like I'm 16 and I've been doing this for 7, 8 years now, I think that's probably pretty good.
Yeah. It's definitely a question I have for myself is where the negative energy is coming from.
Yeah.
Or it's just like taking care of yourself. It's like, why is it so normal to be 50 pounds overweight
Mm-mm.
when you know you're gonna feel worse?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's normal and it's the easy route. It's the path of least resistance, which is, like we've said, what we want to take, what
Yeah,
people want to take most of the time. They want to stay in equilibrium, expend the least amount of energy. And that is always going to be not working out, not watching what you eat, doing all that stuff, and just living by the seat of your pants, because it's too hard to force yourself to work out when you can't see the results because the results are down the road. That's not right this second.
exactly
And
what I people say. Why should I even bother working out? Because they just don't automatically see a difference. I'm like, you should work out because eventually it will show you something. But right now you're just, you know, thinking about it and nothing's changing.
yeah. And if you think about it this way too, flying by the seat of your pants and not being on top of your health and fitness, you don't see in the moment either a negative, but you will down the road. But it's harder to see that result down the road
Yeah,
and to look at what your life is going to be like in 10 years and how you know bad your health is going to be. it's
yeah,
it's much harder to see that, which is why people will be lazy now
yeah.
instead of put that work in right now.
It's
So
hard for people to see it because like the biggest thing with working out when you're in the trades, it's not how you look, clearly, it's how you feel. A lot of people haven't been through an injury or something like that where it's like they don't see a night and day difference on what could happen if they sustain an injury. I was laying in my bed for months and months while my friends were having fun. You just don't understand it. It's kind of taboo to them.
yeah, well, one other pushback I hear a lot is that the work is hard on your body, and then they will say justify that by
Mhm.
showing all of the accidents that can happen on the job site.
Yeah,
Um, and you can't justify the crappy lifestyle by the fact that it is sort of dangerous to do the job, because a lot of the injuries are preventable. A lot of the
Hmm.
injuries are because you don't take care of yourself, you're not stretching, you don't have good mobility, you're overworking yourself and you're not working out your body. Um,
Hmm.
those muscles that don't get worked every single day, like
Yeah.
injuries happen from that repeated stress
Yeah.
and eating like crap, and then all of a sudden you extend too far one way or the other and you freaking rip your shoulder or something. Like it's not the accidents that we're talking about, it's the
Hmm.
completely preventable injuries that happen to everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely one of the biggest things I try and push. It's like you don't have to jump into a huge workout program. You could just start with some mobility training and you're gonna just that'll almost immediately give you some benefits because you're just gonna be like, oh, it doesn't hurt when I bend this way anymore because just loosening yourself up a little bit's the minimum.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the minimum. I mean, and mobility work is huge. And I almost want to I've been thinking a lot about doing kind of programs for people in blue collar jobs that are kind of like minimalist
Yeah.
mobility type stuff, because a lot of people don't know how to do any mobility type work, and it's super good for you.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, just being able to crouch down and have full range of motion in your hips and knees is huge, let alone being able to bend over and pick things up without your back hurting and all of this stuff. It's just like there's so much that you can do to get yourself out of that misery of feeling like crap all the time, and nobody wants to do it. Or no, but because there's so much information out there, and at the same time not the right information.
I don't know about you, but I've never had a comment saying how them working out's been the worst thing they've ever done.
I know it's always people saying that they why should they work out? They feel
Yeah.
like crap all the time. And it's like, well, that's why. That's why you should.
That's my favorite type of thing when I see a negative comment and then I have five guys who do work out come and just like swarm somebody. They're like, "Oh, you're wrong. You should try it over and over again." It's like, thank you for the backup because
Yeah.
I'm not trying to get assaulted here by someone who doesn't like to do anything.
Yeah. Yeah. I just have to laugh at people now. I mean, when you post on social media, you just have to expect people talking shit like that. And a lot of people just want to be miserable. So you can just let them be miserable and continue sharing the information, and they can listen to it or not, whatever. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. I know that the one video I posted that got the most amount of hate, which I don't know why I got hate, was, I showed myself back in the day and then I showed myself now. People were like, quit talking shit to this guy. You should be like bringing him up. I'm like, it's me in both pictures. Why are you trying to cause an argument? It's me. I'm not talking shit on anybody. I got a lot of laughing out of that. I'm like messaging back. I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? I'm like, this is what you can do. I'm not
Yeah.
talking to anybody. That's me.
In my head. Yeah. It's super, it's a super crazy world we live in right now.
Yeah.
And I think that what you're doing and what we're doing here is going to become even more important in days to come. So, you got anything else to add? Uh, kind of what your
Well, if
plans
we
are up or
funny
anything?
everything we've been talking about, what do you think the three things people can do now to get started without, spending any money? You think what can they do today to get their journey started?
Yeah, I think honestly, it's not even working out, even though I push it so much.
Yeah.
Um, I think working out is like one of the easiest steps you can do, just going into the gym and really not following a program and buying a program, just going in there a couple
Yeah.
times a week and doing stuff,
Mhm.
because you'll start to want to make a change. Your body will start to. But I think drinking enough water,
Yeah.
um, having a set sleep schedule,
Mhm.
and watching what you eat. Not
Yeah.
even following a diet, not doing anything, just kind of paying attention to what you eat. And have some sort of goal on calories and however you figure it. Just do those minimal things and you'll start to notice differences and you'll start to want to make the changes. And
Yeah,
it's super easy. Just start drinking water, set sleep schedule, and watch what you eat. That's it.
I think if people just first of all like realize that there's a problem, that would help them. Secondly, if you just tracked your food for 1 or 2 days and looked at it really hard, you would be disgusted in yourself. Not everybody, but
Yeah.
I know I was. You just see exactly what you're eating. You're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, just start, like maybe even like one day a week just to get used to. And then eventually you'll start wanting more and more because you see the benefits.
Yep. Yeah, that's just, I mean, you can do any of those, a combination. I think even just doing one at a time, like just introducing drinking enough water into your schedule or just fixing the sleep schedule because that's a big one. And it's not even about the amount of sleep you get as
Yeah.
much as just getting the same, like doing the same amount, going
Mhm.
waking up same time, going to bed same time. If you just kind of make one of those changes and make one of them a habit and then add in another, it'll improve your life so much more, so much that you won't even like
Yeah.
recognize it anymore.
Yeah, if you go the opposite of what everybody else is doing in construction for the most part, you're probably going to be better off than most of them
It's, yeah.
against the grain.
Yep. Against the grain. Well, Justin, we're coming up on time here. So thank you for coming on. And where can people go to find you easiest? Instagram?
Yeah, Instagram, blue collar performance. That's pretty much where I'll always respond to DMs. Sometimes it takes a little while because it
Yeah.
hides them if I don't follow you, but
Yeah.
I'll always respond to your emails gladly if you have any questions.
Awesome. Guys, go check them out on Instagram. And thanks for coming on, Justin.
Thanks for having me. I definitely appreciate it.